You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. As a successful motivational speaker and trusted life coach, Nancy knows how you can live the life you want regardless of the challenges you face. Although she's legally blind, Nancy's mission is to inspire others to overcome obstacles and live life full out. Call in at 800-333-0001 to ask Nancy for advice on topics such as relationships, finances, business, health, and more. Just call 800-333-0001. Once again, that's 800-333-0001. And now, here's Nancy.
Hello and welcome to the Living Full Out Show. I am Nancy Solari, and today we're going to be talking about insecurities. We've all had times in our life when we felt just kind of quiet, insecure, worried, anxious about maybe a circumstance in our life, maybe a relationship, a career change, you name it. We've all been there, and it's just a matter of finding our way to being more confident. Now, as we journey along here through the show, you will have opportunities to call in. That number is 800-333-0001, 800-333-0001. And I'll be here to support you and give you the coaching that you need. And we're going to be joined by our inspirational guest, Shoshana Bennett, in our next segment. And she's going to be talking about her journey with postpartum depression and what she had to go through in terms of those suicidal thoughts that she had and how she overcame those, but more so how she loved herself through the process and in turn became a better mother, not just to her kids, but her clients and her husband and family and friends. So it's truly an inspirational story for everyone to hear. And also, if you want to hear today's show again, we invite you to go to livingfullout.com. Click on the radio show tab, and all of our episodes will be waiting there for you. And we want to hear from you. If you have any questions, go to connect at livingfullout.com, and we would love to hear your story, or if you need resources on today's topic, again, we want to make sure that you are supported. Now, I'm getting a word from our producer that we do have a caller on the line, so we're going to go ahead and say hello to them. Hi, welcome to the Living Full Out Show. Hi, welcome to the show.
Oh, am I on now?
Hi. Yes, hi. How are you doing? How can I help you today?
I'm good. I was just calling in because I had a question, and I just wanted to see if you'd be able to, feedback or, give me some advice on it.
Yeah, what's going on?
Well, basically, right now, I'm a junior in college. And freshman year, I met a friend in college, and he kind of, latched on to me. And we ended up living together the following year. And I kind of just realized that we're two different people. And I don't necessarily, something she says makes me feel uncomfortable. And I just think we have a difference in personalities. And right now I'm kind of, debating on whether or not I should pursue this friendship anymore. We no longer live together, but she constantly still just wants to, hang out and things like that, and I just don't necessarily think it's worth keeping in my life. Or, so, my thoughts were, what do you think I should do to, distance myself from someone who I don't necessarily click with?
Well, I'm so glad you're asking this question. And number one, trust your instincts. Your instinct is telling you maybe this is a friendship that you need to let go of. Maybe it's just not serving who you want to become in the future. And that's perfectly fine. See, I'm a little further down the road in life than you are, but I remember being in my 20s, and I remember thinking, I wanted everyone to be my friend. But the reality is your life is going to go in different directions. You may move to different towns, and friends are going to come in and out of your life, and it's okay to let people be a friend in a certain chapter of your life, but not in every chapter. Perfectly fine to let go. And it isn't that you have to make some dramatic gesture of, we're done. It'll just eventually phase out. But I think you always want to karmically wish that person a really good life. And when they call, be pleasant, be lovely. Doesn't mean that you have to commit to getting together. Doesn't even mean that you have to have an hour-long conversation. Put a cap on it. Make it a 2 to 5 minute conversation, little chit-chat, just to stay connected if you feel that that's what they need. But if they're going to go on and on and on, maybe say you got to go in a few minutes. And, just continue to be you. That's what you want to focus on through your entire life. It's interesting. We take our first breath in this world when we're born. And then we take our last breath when we pass. And everybody in between are supporting characters in our life. It doesn't mean that they have to be in every chapter of your story. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So the great news, the good news is, you already have the answer inside you. So don't feel tormented about what should I do. Trust yourself. You know yourself better than anybody. Okay? So we definitely wish you the best, and I hope that advice was helpful. And again, just continue to be you, and you will never go wrong. Okay?
Yep. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for calling in.
Of course.
We've all been there in moments where we feel insecure and we're not sure if we're going to make the wrong decision or hurt somebody's feelings, but the best gift you can give yourself is to be true to yourself. Follow those instincts. Trust your decisions. It's okay to make a mistake. That's how we learn. So we're getting another word from our producer that we have another caller, so we'll go say hello. Hi, welcome to the Living Full Out Show.
Hi, Nancy.
Hi, thank you for joining us. Hi. So what's going on today? How can I help you?
So, I realize that sometimes I let my past experiences and my failures dictate my confidence in my ability to accomplish personal and professional goals. So I guess my question for you is, how do I put my past behind me in such a way that I don't have to limit my confidence or change my behavior so I can pursue my goals into, long-term extent?
It's a great question. You know what? The best thing about the past is that it's in the past. Any time that your heart has been broken, that you've been disappointed, that you've been embarrassed, that you've been frustrated, those moments when they happened, they're in the past. Doesn't mean that you still won't get your heart broken, that you still won't be frustrated, you still won't be disappointed, because that's just how life is. It'll challenge us so that we get stronger, we get more focused, and we expand our wings. Otherwise, if we weren't challenged, we wouldn't keep pushing forward. So what you want to do is just take that burden of trying to heal the past off your shoulders, because the past has come and gone. All we have is this moment. This moment with you right now, I cherish it. I treasure it, because I may not have 2 minutes from now if something catastrophic should happen, right? You might be the last person I talk to. You just want to make sure that you continue to live in the moment. Now, I do love the future. I'm a dreamer. And so know that as you put together a vision for how you want your life to look, just be prepared that curveballs are going to come, disappointments, heartbreaks, mistakes, they're all going to come your way. But you have to trust yourself. And that's where the confidence comes in, because you know they're going to come. And you know that life is going to give you those obstacles because it wants to make you stronger. It wants to test you. It wants to make sure, do you really want this dream that bad? Do you really want it? And you're going to fight for it, and you're going to say, yes, I really want this. It's going to make sure that you prove yourself, right? But the great thing is when you get a further down the line, 2 months from now, 2 years from now, and you have those successes, that's when you can confidently be proud because you weathered the storm. You got through it. Does that make sense?
Yes, that does make sense. That's a great way of looking at it.
Yeah, so I want you to, when you hang up the phone today, I want you just to take a big breath. And I want you to be good to yourself in saying, you know what? I've done some things really well. I have some things I wish I could have changed. But I'm going to take Nancy's advice, and I'm going to live in the moment today. I'm going to love one person today. I'm going to call somebody I haven't talked to in a long time today. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do 1 or 2 items on my to-do list today. And I'm just going to kind of go after life. And at the end of the day, what doesn't get completed, rolls over to tomorrow. Don't make life so serious, so dun 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 dun. You know, it's meant to be celebrated. It's meant to be enjoyed. Okay?
Definitely appreciate the advice, Nancy.
You're welcome. Have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for calling in.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I'm so glad that those callers had such great questions, because we all have those moments of doubt, of insecurity, wondering, am I going in the right direction? And I got to tell you, I'm going to whisper it all to you, that's just how life is. You're never going to know. We don't get a manual when we come into the world. We don't get a laid out plan for how it's going to go. It's all about self-discovery. And I know for me, being legally blind, every time I walk out in the world and I can't see what's ahead of me, and trust me, I've ran into a lot of stop signs, a lot of fire hydrants walking in the world. But does that mean that I don't step outside my house? Does that mean that I don't go after my dreams and goals? No. It's all about going after life. So stay tuned. We'll be coming right back with our inspirational guest. I am Nancy Solari. This is the Living Full Out Show. We will be right back.
Dad, this is fun. I didn't think I liked kayaking.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it, but I think it's time to head back in.
Okay. Can we come back?
Sure.
Tomorrow?
Let's check with Mom. Hey, be careful getting out of the boat.
It's a kayak, Dad.
I'm going to return the kayak. Just make sure you have everything.
Yep. Can we walk home?
How about a taxi? 233 North Maple, please.
It's a short fare from your neighborhood to your naturehood. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a neighborhood park or green space near you. Also, find fun activities to do like boating and biking or camping and hiking, plus much more. It's all right in your naturehood.
Best day ever.
A public service announcement brought to you by the Ad Council and the U.S. Forest Service.
Don't you wish that getting your child to eat right, move more, and spend less time in front of a screen could be as easy as pushing a button? It might not be that simple, but you do have more power than you know. And you can maximize that power with proven strategies, tips, and tools from the National Institutes of Health's We Can, or Ways to Enhance Children's Activity and Nutrition program. We Can offers all kinds of resources, including fun recipes and activities the family can do together to show you the way to live a healthier lifestyle. We're not saying it's easy. We are saying that it can be done. Take the first step today. Call 1-866-359-3226 for a free We Can Parents Handbook. And be sure to visit the We Can website at wecan.nhlbi.nih.gov for free information too. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Today, my new dad and I shot off a rocket in the park.
Today, my new son and I failed to shoot off a rocket.
He knew exactly what to do.
It's not what I had no clue what I was doing.
We set up the rocket.
Hit ignition.
And then
Nothing. Ha 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 ha. Sometimes I laugh when I'm frustrated.
Then out of nowhere, the rocket launched into the air.
The rocket did get into the air.
I've never seen anything fly so high.
And then crashed into a kite. Look out! Look out! And then the pond.
I'll never forget that day.
I'll never forget that day, even if I tried.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of kids in foster care will take you just as you are. For more information on how you can adopt, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
When I was little, I didn't talk for a long time. I liked things to always be the same. Anything new or different would scare and upset me. I was very sensitive to lights and sounds. It was almost like I had bigger eyes and ears than everyone else. So I built secret hiding places where nothing could get in. I didn't like looking people in the eye. It made me feel uncomfortable. I'd throw big tantrums over little things like when my socks didn't match. Sometimes I'd do the same things over and over. Until one day, I found out I had autism. My family got me help. Slowly, I learned how to live with it better.
You can see signs of autism in children as young as 18 months. Early intervention can make a lifetime of difference. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org/signs. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. A professional motivational speaker, Nancy can help you overcome obstacles and start living full out. Call in with questions live at 800-333-0001. Once again, that's 800-333-0001. And now, here's Nancy.
Hello and welcome to Living Full Out Show. I am Nancy Solari, and today we're talking about insecurities. We all have those moments in our lives when we just don't know. We're just clueless as to, are we doing the right thing? Are we saying the right thing? Are we ever going to make it? I know we've all had those questions in our mind. I have. I'm wondering if you have. Or am I alone? I don't think so. And the whole purpose and the journey of life is that we figure out, what does fire ourselves up so we can be confident in the steps we take in life. And sometimes we think we know what we want. We have a pretty good idea of what it's going to feel like and look like. And then when it actually happens, we're still kind of in that gulp feeling. What have I done? Will this work out? And I say that to you because our inspirational guest today, Shoshana Bennett, is a perfect example of what it means to live full out. But she had to go through the pain of postpartum depression, being suicidal, questioning, did she make the right decision in trying to have a baby? I mean, it's a very inspirational story that I can't wait to share with you. So I'd very much like to welcome Shoshana to the show. Hello, welcome.
Hi, thank you, Nancy. My pleasure.
All right. Well, first of all, before we jump into your story, can you share with our audience what postpartum depression is? Exactly. We've all heard the term,
a brain disorder.
Really, what?
But
what is it?
We can come at it, and we do from all directions. I mean, it's very, very important. Some women, can be depressed because of social reasons, some because more of biochemical reasons, some because of environmental, situational stuff. So it can be a combination that's different for every individual. But technically, clinicians will say it is an endocrine disorder. It is primarily a biochemical disorder that comes up when hormones are shifting and the hypothalamus is doing its thing. So it's usually thought of primarily as chemical in nature.
Got it. Okay. Well, at least we kind of got that context now as we journey through your story. So let's take our audience back in time. Okay. You and your husband obviously got pregnant first time around. And like any new mom, you were studying the books. You were preparing, and you were having actually a pretty healthy, thriving pregnancy. Would you say that you had any insecurities, any doubts during your pregnancy, or did you feel confident all the way through?
I felt very confident, almost overly so, because I had always, done my homework and studied and thought there was a cause and effect, right? If you read all the right books and you stand on your head for 20 minutes a day and you're doing everything that everybody tells you, we can predict the outcome. So no, I was very confident. And my pregnancy, unlike many others who get the depression during the pregnancy itself, my pregnancy was really good.
Okay, yeah. and that actually is a good thing because, the heaviness was to come. Now, you were in labor for 6 days. That is an extremely long amount of time. When did the depression start to kick in? Was it when labor initially started, or at what point over that 6 days?
I wasn't aware of depression, and I had never experienced depression before, but looking back, it was more the trauma of the whole experience and the labor and delivery as well that was really starting to take root during that time. The depression I was aware of, again, in retrospect, I realize now what that was, upon delivery.
Okay. Now, did you have moments during those 6 days where you were like, what have I done? I take it back. Or, what, because fear creeps into our mind.
Right.
And
you know, this
how
was
did you package that?
Labor. I mean, I just wasn't progressing. It was called prodromal labor. So I wasn't sleeping either. So it was really during the heavy last stages of labor. Of course, I didn't progress during that either, and was finally given a C-section. But it was really during the heaviness, the heavy labor, the hard labor, that I was going, oh my gosh, just take me out of here. I cannot take the pain of being hit, you know, a sledgehammer in the back, and then my kids my child was transverse and posterior, kind of sideways and sunny side up, so I didn't get any break. When the really heavy stuff started, it was front labor and then immediate back labor, so there was no rest. It was during that time, Nancy, that I thought, just get me out of here. Really, just eliminate me. You know, take my baby, but I cannot do this.
And when your baby was born, she was a girl, and you're holding her in your arms for the first time, did you still have that overwhelming emotion of, oh my gosh, did you feel a disconnect? Did you instantly start to love her and connect with her? What was that like?
I most definitely did not have an instant connection. I was numb. What had happened also, the trauma was also it triggered some past trauma when I was a child. So I had both the labor and delivery trauma and also the past stuff coming up. I was immobilized. I was paralyzed. I said all the right things. Nancy, you know, when she was placed in my arms, I said, "Oh, honey, I'm so glad you're here." You know, it's like I had the script down, but I did not feel any connection to her at all. I was so overwhelmed and overtaken by my own process, so to speak. I couldn't feel anything. I was numb.
Do you remember back during that time? I'm sure there were tears. You know, in the hospital room, alone by yourself. Did you feel like you let yourself down? You know, you had all these insecurities going on.
Oh, I didn't only feel like I'd let myself down. Yeah, that's a wonderful question. I thought I was a complete failure, and I must be the worst mother on the planet. I mean, I thought that it should be an instantaneous, gushing, loving, and, you know, some women do report that, and I believe them. But, you know, but I thought all women, you know, all new mothers should feel this. So I felt not only had I failed in needing a C-section, because clearly I didn't study hard enough, right, because I needed a C-section and I wasn't progressing, etc., but I just thought I was a terrible, just completely inadequate. And the thoughts, there were scary thoughts already starting to whirl in my mind, which also made me think I should not have had a baby.
Well, and that's where I want to take a pause, because we're going to take a commercial break. But I so appreciate your honesty, and when we come back, we're going to continue our interview with Shoshana, talking about postpartum depression and how she got over that, past that. So stay with us. I'm Nancy Solari. This is the Living Full Out Show. We'll be right back.
Listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari.
There are many sounds in your day-to-day life. There are sounds that wake you up. Sounds that make you smile. Sounds that energize you. And sounds that help you relax. But there are some sounds that can alert you to danger and can help save lives. Wireless emergency alerts, now on many mobile devices, use a unique sound and vibration to bring you information about severe weather events, Amber Alerts, or other emergencies in your area. With critical information from local sources you know and trust, you can be in the know, wherever you are. For more information, visit ready.gov/alerts. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Keyboard Cat, Hamilton the Pug, and Toast Meets World. These are some of the internet's most beloved pets. With millions of YouTube views, shares, Instagram likes, followers, and fans across the globe. But what do all these amazing pets have in common? Their stories started in a shelter. Start your story. Adopt a dog or cat today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a shelter or adoptable pets near you. Training that pet to play the keyboard? Well, that's entirely up to you. Visit theshelterpetproject.org and hear more about Hamilton the Pug, Toast, and Keyboard Cat's amazing adoption stories. Start a story. Adopt a shelter or rescue pet today. Your perfect pet is just a click away at theshelterpetproject.org. A public service announcement brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
As an 18-year-old, I let my mistakes kind of take over my life. I was 0.5 credits away from completing high school, and I didn't do it.
10 years later, at age 28, Jackie finished her high school diploma.
When I found out that I was pregnant, I know that I had to do something for myself if I wanted to make her a better person and provide a better life for her. My family never stopped pushing for me to be better because they knew what I could become and who I could become as a person. My support team is amazing. The educational director, my sister, and even my 7-year-old daughter has just been more than the support that I could ask for. I've been given an opportunity, and I'm just thankful for it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
What if I could tell you that a full-blown wildfire was going to occur tomorrow right where you live? Tell you exactly which neighborhoods it would engulf and how fast it would do it. The first thing you would do is talk with your loved ones and make a plan today. It's true, I can't tell you a wildfire will strike tomorrow, but shouldn't you make a plan anyway? Go to ready.gov/communicate and make your emergency plan today. Don't wait. Communicate. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. As a trusted life coach, Nancy will help you overcome setbacks and embrace all life has to offer. Call in with questions live at 800-333-0001. Once again, that's 800-333-0001. And now, here's Nancy.
Thank you again for joining us. I'm Nancy Solari, and this is the Living Full Out Show. And today we're talking about the times in our lives when we have insecurities. We're stressed, we're anxious, and we're just praying that we can get through a situation. And our inspirational guest today, Shoshana Bennett, is no stranger to all of those emotions and feelings when she encountered postpartum depression not just once but twice, having suicidal thoughts and really having to go through dark moments to get to the other side and become the mother that she wanted to be. So I want to welcome Shoshana back to the show. Hello, welcome. So I want to just kind of take this moment to talk a little bit about the support that you had. So here you were, you had your new bundle of joy, you're having all these dark thoughts, not feeling connected to her, your baby, feeling like the worst mother in the world because you did not have that connection. Did you get support from your doctor?
My doctor, and it wasn't his fault. I mean, OBs still aren't really trained on this topic. But my doctor just told me that all new mothers go through this when I went in for a consultation. So my first suicidal thoughts were really sitting in his office because I thought, if all new mothers go through this, then clearly I wasn't cut out to be a mother, and my baby and my husband would probably be better off without me. So
and what is the suicidal thought?
Know.
And what does the suicidal thought look like? I mean, when you were sitting in the office, were you literally planning on how you just wanted to eliminate yourself?
That was the first time I thought, I'm going to think of a way to do it. I didn't have a plan then, but that's when it kind of gelled that, okay, this is a way out. People will go on. They will forget about me. It's better for my baby. My baby will have a different mother, who's not depressed, who's not a failure and inadequate. And so, no, I didn't have an actual plan at that time, but I did later on.
And where was your husband during this time? Was he supportive? Was he aware?
My husband's, he was, physically, he was fabulous with our baby, thank goodness, because our daughter did have a non-depressed father, a parent who wasn't depressed. But he was terrible with me because he didn't know. And his mother was a postpartum nurse. My mother-in-law, for 35 years, when we delivered our first child, she, as a nurse, as a postpartum nurse, had not, for 35 years, had never heard of postpartum depression. This was back in the 80s. Nobody was talking about this stuff. And so she was telling him, Shoshana just has to stop thinking about herself and stop being so spoiled. So he was angry with me. He believed everything his mom, who had popped out 5 kids of her own without so much as the normal baby blues, he was just mad at me and couldn't understand why I couldn't be as happy as he was.
So here you are feeling all these depressive thoughts, feeling unsupported by your doctor and your husband and your mother-in-law, and obviously having suicidal thoughts of wanting to end your life. Did you attempt suicide? And if you did, or if you did not, what kept you from not?
I did not actually swallow those pills. They were sitting in front of me, and I was fairly sure that that's what I wanted to do when I set them all out in front of me. But I didn't, because a thought was kind of popped in there that said, even though this is going to be an absolutely joyless existence, it's your job. And I've always taken my job very seriously, Nancy. So honestly, that is what kept me there. Like, I was going to hate being a mother. I was going to be the worst mother ever. But I had a job to do, and it was my responsibility. And frankly, I remember sitting there thinking it at that time, and that is what kept me from swallowing all those pills.
Well, thank goodness for that discipline, because you're here with us today. So I'm personally glad that you have that going on in you, that you feel that you need to do your job. But as you went through and you were doing your job, you were acting the role of a mother.
Right.
At what point did you finally start to feel relief? Finally start to feel like I could love her?
It wasn't about not loving her. But again, you're right. I was just going through the motions like a robot. I did what I thought. I would paste a smile on my face when I could. But usually, she didn't. My beautiful daughter did not get smiles or animation from me. I was just, again, it felt like an automaton. She was 2.5. I missed the infancy and the toddlerhood of my firstborn entirely. She was 2.5 when I finally started to kind of wake up. Like I started seeing in color again, instead of in shades of gray, kind of really muted. I started to taste my food again. Everything had tasted really bland. I mean, depression is really quite something. It put a damper on everything. I started moving like my old self again, rather than really slow. It's really difficult to explain. But I kind of woke up. I started noticing the dust on my counter. It's like, that needs to be cleaned. I started appreciating the sun. So, there was both. There started to be. I started to feel like like I thought a new mother ought to feel. When she was 2.5, and I had a lot of catching up to do. So and of course we got pregnant again because I was me. And during the next pregnancy, that's when my daughter really had me fully there with her. But again, with the birth of the second, I dropped into the same kind of scary, scary situation, and my daughter lost me again.
Now, it's interesting that you did go on to have a second child. Did you just kind of chalk up the first pregnancy to it must have been a one-time occurrence?
Again, that's what everybody told me. Oh, it's just because it was the first. You know, that kind of stuff. And now that you know how to be a mom, now that you know how to change diet, you know, it wasn't going to happen again. Towards the end, when I was going through that refresher course of, you know, the labor and delivery refresher course, I started to get really panicked. Like, what if it wasn't? I mean, what if this is going to happen again? So I started getting very, very, very nervous. But yeah, all of the ignorance, you know, the therapist I saw once because she was horrible and didn't know anything and made me worse. You know, she was saying, no, it's not going to happen again. It's fine. You know, the doctor was saying that. So I didn't have anything else. I didn't know anything else. So yes, we decided to have another child, and what did I know? I mean, I didn't have any wellness strategy because there was nothing but ignorance and criticism that had surrounded me during the first time around, and nothing proactive to prevent another occurrence.
Well, and it's interesting because on the second pregnancy, those suicidal thoughts came back around again. Did you line up pills again? Did you have a different strategy? Was it as intense?
But postpartum, yes. Postpartum, I did have that second bout that went on for, a little over a year. But during that time, I almost took my life again. Yes, thinking now I had two kids. And again, I just thought I'm horrible. Here I am again, and I've got another newborn, and I have a 3.5-year-old that needs me. I don't deserve to have them. They deserve better. So I did during that first year. I was suicidal and did sit there with those pills that I stared at for quite a while, actually, before the same thought was downloaded. Like, okay, you got a bigger job now. It's going to be a worse life for you forever. And poor kids are going to have to live with this terrible, inadequate mom. But I'm going to do it. It's a job.
Now, did you rally for child number 3, given two journeys with
this? At that point, even though my husband would have loved to have as many kids as his own mother did, I said that please get snipped. We are not ever doing this again. And he did.
When you look back on not so much the pregnancies, because those were healthy and happy times for you, but the labor and then even the days and weeks afterwards, if you're glad that you have your children, but what would you tell your earlier self? If you could go back in time and have a conversation before that first little bundle came out, what would you tell yourself?
Oh, I would tell myself the same message I give all mommies I run into now. It's like, throw out the myths of motherhood and don't set, like your needs don't matter anymore and everything should be easy. Women have done this 1,000,000 times before, and all of that stuff. I'd say, throw it all away. You do matter. After 6.5 days of labor, not to be asked how I was doing. It was all about the health of the baby. It's really quite something. So I would tell my younger self, my earlier self, get rid of all that stuff. You do count. You do matter. And also, I wouldn't set myself up. I'd say, look, you can do this method or that method and have your wish list of how you'd like labor and delivery and personality of child and, all that breastfeeding and all that stuff to go. But bottom line is, we don't know a darn thing. We don't know how it's going to unfold. So I'd have an arm around myself. As if whatever unfolds, honey, you're going to have the resources to handle it. That's what I tell my earlier self.
And that is great advice for any expecting mother listening to the show today, or expecting father. Take that in. And Shoshana, you really have become a mother, not to your own kids, but to your clients. And it's really full circle moment that you would have gone through postpartum depression, suicidal thoughts, but now you are such a mother in so many ways. And that you must feel proud of that.
Nancy, it is the most satisfying job I could possibly have, because I can help new moms, expectant moms, be launched in the healthiest way possible, and they they can have that happiness, that I didn't have for years off and on. And that just gives me tremendous joy. And yes, I absolutely love it. And I work with mommies all over the world.
Well, I love it. And thank you so much for being on today's show, because you opened our eyes to postpartum depression, what it is, and that one can survive that. So I want to thank you so much for being on today's show, and we'll be thinking of you and your family.
Thank you so much, Nancy, for the opportunity.
All right. Have a great day. Thanks, Shoshana. And when we come back, we're going to be taking your calls. This is the Living Full Out Show. I'm Nancy Solari. It's all about living full out, getting past those insecurities. Together we can do it. That's the whole reason why we put this show together, so you can be supported, get the motivation you need to thrive in your life. We'll be right back.
Jason, I've got to tell you, you're pretty much everything this company is looking for in an entry-level candidate.
Great.
Your resume isn't quite what we're used to, but you've got a fantastic work ethic.
Thank you.
And I'm impressed by how you carry yourself.
So, should we talk about the job?
What? The job? Oh, sorry. Yeah, I have no way of recruiting or even meeting you. This interview didn't happen.
It may sound ridiculous, and that's because it kind of is. There's a huge pool of talent your company is missing out on. Meet the grads of life. Who are they? Talent worth knowing about. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
Man, we really could have used him.
Don't miss out on a resource many innovative companies have already discovered. Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
The following message is about Medicaid and CHIP, free or low-cost health coverage for kids and teens. Enrollment is open year-round.
Hey, voice lady, give me the mic.
Okay.
Hey, DJ, let's switch up the music. That's better. So listen up, moms and dads out there. There are these programs called Medicaid and CHIP. They offer free or low-cost health coverage for kids. Things like doctor and dentist visits, prescriptions, and shots are covered. All the stuff that keeps kids like me healthy and in charge.
So, as you can tell, a covered kid is a confident kid. And it means confident parents, too. To learn more about affordable health coverage for your family, visit healthcare.gov or call 1-877-KIDS-NOW. That's 1-877-543-7669.
Yep, you could do something big for your family today because enrollment is open year-round.
This has been a message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
And Sophia.
They're going to jump out of trees. You can't stop them. They'll go down the slide head first. They'll make parachutes out of sheets. They'll balance on things that are impossible to balance on, like the back of a couch or a windowsill or a scooter seat. They'll run with sharp objects. They'll run into walls. They'll climb things that won't hold their weight. They'll put their fingers in places where they could get smashed. They'll drive their tricycles down steep hills. They'll bounce balls off their faces. They'll step on each other. They'll jump on each other. They'll invent whole new ways to put themselves in jeopardy. But one of the most dangerous things kids will do happens while they're sitting perfectly still. Kids who ride in a car without a booster seat are much more likely to suffer serious or fatal injury during a crash than kids in boosters. But amazingly, 80% of all kids who need them aren't in them. After a toddler seat and until they're 4'9", booster kids, and don't let them down.
Go to boosterseat.gov to learn more about the importance of boosters. A message from the U.S. Department of Transportation and the Ad Council.
Hey, Nick Cannon here. So we all know we've got a lot of talent in America. But unfortunately, there's something else we've got way too much of. Childhood hunger. 17 million kids struggle with it in this country. That's why the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks gather surplus food to give hope to hungry kids and their families. Join me in supporting Feeding America and your local food bank at feedingamerica.org.
A message from Feeding America and the Ad Council.
We're your pets, and this song's dedicated to those people who don't have health insurance yet. Enroll, we say. We want you to
insurance is now affordable and covers prescriptions, hospitalizations, and preventive care. Visit getcoveredamerica.org to learn more.
And take care, people.
Brought to you by Get Covered America and the Ad Council.
During times when you feel you're most insecure, I want you to always remember to trust yourself. It's kind of being your own best friend, having that conversation, coaching yourself through those dark, stressful times. Because believe it or not, when you are there for yourself, when you have positive self-talk going on in your mind and expressively saying it out loud, you can live full out. But it all starts with trusting yourself and knowing that you're worth it.
You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. As a certified life coach, Nancy can help you to overcome challenges and start living full out. Call in with questions live at 800-333-0001. Once again, that's 800-333-0001. And now, here's Nancy.
Welcome back to the Living Full Out Show. I am Nancy Solari. And although we've been talking about insecurities today, and that is a sensitive and heavy topic when you're in the moment, I want us all to actually just take a breath. Because when we're insecure about the way we look, something we've said, maybe inadequacies, failing, making mistakes, friendships that we've lost, whatever it may be, I want you to understand that those insecurities are part of life. You're not alone. They're not signature to you. It's something that we all go through. So when you're feeling insecure, if you can muster the energy and the right words, whatever words flow out of your mouth, I really encourage you to turn to somebody in your life and open up to them. Be vulnerable. Pick that person that you feel would be the most empathetic of your situation. But it's when we keep our insecurities inside, those dark thoughts just festering in our mind, that's when we feel as though we're in a prison and we don't know how to get out. And that's when people do feel suicidal, and that's when they do want to give up. But that's not a reality that you have to live. But it all starts with you trusting yourself, finding the confidence to verbalize what you're going through, and being courageous to open up to another person. I'm so proud of everybody who calls into the show each week because they're dedicated to thriving in their life. They don't want to be limited by insecurities, being a burden, depression, you name it. All these things can come at us. But the great news is we can get past them, sometimes on our own, but most of the time with the help of others. And the Living Full Out show is dedicated each week to being here, your friend. We're here to support you and get you through those tough times. Now, the insecurities are those dark thoughts, is that negative self-talk, is the heavy worried feeling we feel in our body. But I also want you all to remember that for all the hard times in our life, we actually do have moments of laughter. Sometimes it's when you're watching a comedy on TV and something happens and you just giggle. Maybe it's when you're alone by yourself and you do something kind of silly and you're like, oh, I can't believe I just did that. There's always going to be those little moments. And when you smile, I want you to feel what that smile does to your body. Believe it or not, if you're listening right now, I want you to smile. I know you're listening to this radio show, but just smile. When you smile, it tells your heart it's going to be okay. Doesn't mean that it isn't going to be hard. Doesn't mean that it's going to turn out perfect. But again, it goes back to being your best advocate, to being your best friend. And it's important that as we round out today's show based upon insecurities, that we change that word from being insecure to secure. And how do we become secure? The security that we want to feel in our life, unfortunately, sometimes that can come from other people, sometimes not. You can't count on that. You might get it from a job, you might not. It might be good health, or it could be something otherwise. The ability to feel secure comes from you. Now that's good and bad. Bad in that sometimes you have to talk yourself and walk yourself through getting past the insecurity to being secure. But the great thing is, it is inside you. And you are the one who can open the door, welcome yourself into your secure home, give yourself a big hug anytime. I know that may sound a little, kumbaya, a little bit grandiose when I tell you that, but it's really meant to be truthful. And I want you to think about a time when you have felt insecure and another time when you were secure. Really take that today and ponder it. When was I my most insecure? I can tell you for me, that's when I feel bad about being legally blind. There's times, just recently I was on an airplane and the stewardess was trying to give me a drink and they didn't know I couldn't see, and they're holding this drink. I ordered a Coke and they're like, lady, take the drink. And the person I was with kind of belted out that I couldn't see, and I felt bad. Should I have felt bad? No. Obviously, they didn't know I couldn't see. Maybe they just thought I was being unaware. The thing is we can't assume that people know what's going on in our mind, what our disability is, what we're going through. We can't assume anything. That's a dangerous word, assume. So what you can do is tell somebody. It would have been much easier for me to say, oh, I'll take a Coke. And when you hand it to me, just so you know, I'm legally blind, I can't see. If you could just put it in my hand. I didn't do that. So what I felt was insecurity inside myself, feeling like a burden, feeling bad when that could have been prevented. I want you to think about where in your life you could say something, do something different to open people up, let them know what's going on. And I promise you, just like in my situation, you will then take yourself out of being insecure to being secure and being confident. And so that's what the journey of life is all about. We're not going to get it right every time, but we're going to strive for it. And I want to thank everybody today who listened to today's show, our entire team that puts this show on together. We have Rich and Roger and Kenny and Amber, and the list goes on of everybody who is here to support you each week. And again, if you have questions on today's show or need resources, reach out to us at connect@livingfullout.com. We'll get those resources for you. And if you have a story, once again, share it with us. We'd love to have you on the show as an inspirational guest so you can teach our audience how you overcame a challenge in your life. Go to livingfullout.com if you want to hear today's show again. And most of all, we look forward to seeing you next week. It's all about being confident, stepping out there, just going for life. It's fun. It's an adventure. It's meant to be lived. So here's to you living full out. I'll see you next week.